Here's my code for digital dice. You can see my task description. I want to make a program that rolls a random dice number from 1 to 6. Then the LEDs will light up to indicate that number. My pseudocode, kind of the general idea of what I want to do. I want to have if a button is pressed, it clears all the LEDs to off, then it saves a random number, and then it lights up the appropriate LED based upon which random number was rolled, if you will. I set up a variable for my wait time, just so I don't have to go searching through my program. If I want to make the LEDs wait a little longer or something, I can just change this one number. I set up all my LEDs in digital ports 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6. And then I set up one button plugged into digital 2. As we go in my setup, first I set up my button as one line. Then I use a for loop to set up all my pins. And basically this index here is going to go to the first part of my LED, which right now that's digital 12. It'll make that an output. Then it will loop again up to index number 1, which would be the second part, set 11 to an output, and then so on and so forth until every single one of these digitals is set to an output, so we can use it as an LED like it's intended. I did use my serial debugging tool. Not going to show us how at this point because I've showed that before. As far as how the actual loop goes, I make a variable, a new variable for the button, and I have it store whatever the button is read. Basically, if the button is pressed, it gives a low value. If the button is not pressed, it gives a high value. So I might add that here. So low equal pressed, high equal no pressed. Then I have if the button is pressed, so if the value is low, then execute my user-controlled function dice roll, which we'll get to in a second. And then all this section right here is doing is, in my previous videos I showed that if I held down the button, it kept rolling the dice and kept changing the numbers very sporadically. So I added this while loop, and basically said, as the button continues to be pressed, so after it did all my dice roll stuff, then just kind of wait here, doing a little delay each time, and just wait there until the button is no longer pressed. So as soon as I let go of the button, then it exits this while loop. It would jump back up and then again start checking the button to see if it's, once it gets pressed again. As far as the actual dice roll command, this one's pretty short. First I have another user control command of clear LED. I make a number, I randomly generate the number, and then I use another user command for show LED. One of the reasons for all these user commands is it's easy to test, because I could put this clear LED, when I was testing it, I would put it up here in my regular loop just to see if it worked. And if it did, then I knew that that section of code was working just fine. I'm also able to comment out things I don't want to try right now, and I don't have to comment out entire 15, 20, 30 lines of code. It's just a single line for that one function I don't want to try right now. As far as what these are, actually first our random number here. I mentioned the video, at first I had it going from random from 1 up to 6. But that 1 was inclusive, the 6 was exclusive, meaning it could roll a 1, but it could not roll a 6. So the only options available were 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If I change it to 7, now it's random numbers between 1 to 7, excluding 7, which would include 6. So clear LED, this is another for loop, almost exactly the same as the for loop that we used up for pin mode here. Except instead of pin mode, now we're just having digital right, turning all of the index LEDs to low. So anytime the button is pressed, I figured instead of incorporating turning off all the LEDs down here, it'd be much easier just to make a single short code that just turns all the LEDs off right after I press the button. And then we get to our main function, the show LED, where it inputs whatever number is rolled, either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. If it's a 1, then I have that correlate to the appropriate LED, in this case index at number 3 from the pictures I showed earlier. If I rolled a 2, then it turns on LED index number 2 and LED index number 4, and then so on and so forth. I had a little bit of issue with making sure all these indexes were lighting up, but the nice thing is as I would try it, if one of the LEDs was lighting up at the wrong time, I just go in, change the index number, and it would all be peachy keen there. So that's my code. Let me know if you have any questions or anything I can help you with.